Welcome back to another exciting episode of Cyber Defense TV. I'm your host, Gary Malevsky, and the publisher of Cyber Defense Magazine. Sitting in my hot seat today is a very special guest. Rakesh Narasimhan is the president and CEO of Anitian. Rakesh, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audience.
Now, Anitian is spelled Anitian, and that's the website, Anitian.com, correct?
That's correct.
And you guys are doing something amazing in the area of compliance automation. Can you tell us about it?
Sure. Typically, customers who are trying to accomplish both security and compliance have to either try to do it themselves or hire a whole bunch of consulting folks. What we did is the modern equivalent of essentially taking software and applying that to automating all of those tasks so that customers, much like they buy their email from a provider, we've actually done the same thing with our compliance. So if a customer needs compliance, we have a platform and we automate it, and the speed and value with which we deliver that is the thing that differentiates us.
So let's say, I'm trying to get in compliance with PCI DSS, or I need to get, FedRAMP compliance. Normally that could be maybe an 18-month process, cost a lot of money, take a lot of time, a lot of consultants. What can you do to speed that up, save me time and money?
Excellent question. So our offering really is exactly that, which is we take it from, instead of it being 18 to 24 months, a ton of consultants and time and money, what we've done is shrunk that down and basically identified them. We have a first part of our solution is basically creating the environment, which has everything that you need that is for the standard, whether it's PCI or FedRAMP, and FedRAMP could be FedRAMP moderate, FedRAMP high. So depending on what you chose, we actually create that environment upfront. And then inside of that environment, we actually put our platform software in it, which automates all of that, including all the way up to the documentation production for the standard, whether it's PCI or FedRAMP. And then by providing that, we also have a SecOps service, which helps with threat hunting, threat mitigation, that sort of thing. So we have a pre-engineered environment. We create the software platform itself inside of it. And then we have a SecOps service that complements it by making sure that you're 24/7 taken care of as a compliance customer.
So from DevOps to SecOps, you're providing a quicker, rapid deployment, compliance, and security. Well, how are you providing the SecOps piece?
Great question. So originally, we were focused primarily on AWS as AWS was growing up. And so what we do is remember that we're helping customers, whether they are a SaaS company, and we take their application and integrate that into the environment we create. And the customer has a choice. They could be on AWS, and now we have it available on Azure as well. We're working on Google, of course. So a customer chooses which platform they need to be on, and we make sure we create that environment in that cloud infrastructure, and then ensure that our platform software goes into it, integrate the SaaS company software into that environment, and provide the SecOps service on top of it, so that we get that started. And if the customer has a SecOps service or DevOps service, we basically transition that over to them once we achieve compliance. So we're there to basically get started, hand in hand, get the company through compliance, and then make sure that the DevSecOps folks can actually transition, taking over from us. That's typically how our cycle works.
Rakesh, what is the sweet spot for Anitian? Is it Fortune 1000? Is it mid-market? What's the sweet spot, and what are the kind of verticals that are leveraging you to get to market faster with better compliance and a better secure cloud solution?
Thank you. I think we have a compliance automation solution, and we have a secure cloud solution as well. We think we're in the B2B market, enterprise companies primarily. So we're looking primarily for compliance automation is a lot of commercial SaaS companies who are trying to go into whether they're e-commerce companies, PCI, or a lot of them are actually trying to go sell into the government. So they need FedRAMP, for example. And so those are primarily the enterprise B2B companies that utilize our services to go achieve compliance, if you will. On the flip side, there's a whole bunch of government agencies who are trying to move to the cloud. And so they need to achieve a certain amount of compliance rigor. So we get both kinds of customers. So a Department of Energy could be a customer, Smartsheet is a customer. Those kinds and classes of companies are the primary customers. Secure cloud, on the other hand, is really any enterprise company as well as small medium company who want to accomplish a certain level of security hygiene based on a standard. They're a perfect customer for that. So that's why we see a lot more customers. The nature of compliance is such that people are trying to accomplish something very specific, versus secure cloud is just generally security best practices, what they're trying to accomplish. That's why we see a larger market in secure cloud, versus compliance is a pretty large market, but not as big as a security market, if you will, for customers.
How long does it take to get secure cloud up and running, and what security features does it provide?
But the way it works is we create the environment on day one. So if you tell us today, by tomorrow we'll have the entire environment up and running. You just need to tell us, is it AWS or Azure? And then we create that environment. And so we have the web application firewalls built in. We have containers, container security, container orchestration, if it's Kubernetes, if you will. So we put all that infrastructure in place. And a lot of them are not just us, right? So we have a whole partner ecosystem of folks. So if you wanted to have container security, you could use Sysdig or Qualys, if you will, SIMS with Elastic or Splunk. So we basically have a pre-configured way to do that. Remember that in compliance, the environment of partners that we utilize and create that is based on them being ATO'd. In secure cloud, we have a little bit more freedom in the sense that we can pick and choose which partner we want to put in place for that customer. So one day up and running, and then it's really working with the customer's application and how long that takes to go integrate into the environment to provide all those services, whether it's firewalls, endpoint protection, intrusion detection. Those things are already pre-done in the environment itself. So now the matter is only getting the application integrated in this environment. That's what we work with the customer for, to achieve the secure cloud success, if you will.
Is secure cloud licensed on a month-per-month basis, an annual basis? How do you license?
Subscription. So we provide a subscription to the platform, and it's a one-time sort of onboarding fee to basically get the environment up and running. We take care of not just deploying the software of our partners, but we also take care of all the licensing and the front end. So all the products, paper, deployment, all taken care of. So the customer does not have to worry about that. The next stage is really the platform, that subscription for us to have it on a month-to-month basis. And then with the SecOps service is also a service that is available on a subscription basis. Typically what we've seen is we think that customers don't take that. Oftentimes we do that as a way to basically get the software onboarded, get the platform in place, get the security ops running. And what we've seen is both in compliance as well as security, typically we've been surprised by how often customers say, no, I think I actually like it this way. Continue renewing that on a yearly basis is how we've seen the business play out. And that's, I think, primarily because A, it's hard to find security people, B, it's hard to find people who will do this in the cloud, and C, the speed at which we can do this and automate it is something that it's a big productivity boost for the client companies. And that's really the reason why people stick to basically renew the service.
And it seems to me this is an accelerated growth opportunity for Anitian because, we had 3% working from home in 2019, and then suddenly post-COVID, we've got almost 50% working from home, which means everybody's moving all their apps to the cloud. And there's a lot of headaches in that process too, and there's a lot of security risks. Do you have any examples you'd like to share? Maybe some clients you've helped, maybe it's publicly known, or don't name them, and give an example of what you've done to help secure that environment, given that their customers, their employees, everybody's working from home now.
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, I'm happy to report that in the middle of a pandemic, the company really almost tripled their business. And a big portion of that is directly relatable to how much of the applications are moving to the cloud. And now the difference is before, I think the migration was already happening and people were working remotely. The difference is in COVID timeframe, everybody had to do it at the same time, if you will. The sheer compression and time in which you had to accomplish that became the need. So we have pretty much every customer we've signed up in the enterprise. Smartsheet, SAP Concur, and then a few more ones that are not public yet, really iconic internet names have signed up. And all those guys did that primarily for two reasons. In the compliance side, they wanted to make sure that their app is used in the federal marketplace where there was a lot more people working remotely and they needed access to those applications. Well, the commercial companies couldn't do that unless they achieved compliance. So we were able to help them accomplish that. Other cases are, a lot of government agencies who are trying to do the exact same thing. They had applications, they were trying to move to the cloud, but they couldn't do it fast enough. So we created the environment, put them in there, achieved the compliance, and so they could get that to their end users. So that happened on the commercial side as well as the compliance side. And then on secure cloud, what we're seeing is this idea of moving to the cloud is just accelerated. So they're saying, hey, I only have 9 or 10 apps. Now I have to get to the next 25, 30 apps. It's a big push to get them all into the cloud. But instead of trying to sort of build, assemble, do that kind of work, Secure Cloud offers a pre-built environment for people to move in. So that's a very quicker path to getting your applications in there so that the end users on the commercial side of the world can actually reach them as well. So the pandemic really accomplished a big accelerant to move to the cloud. And so securing that environment is a big push. And so that's where we come in to help the customers.
And Rakesh, you've managed projects for large companies in the billions.
Yep.
What drew you to come into Anitian and take over as their president and CEO?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I've had a very, great career with a lot of great people and companies, and great teamwork from our. It's not just me; it's a lot of people around me, and I'm really thankful for that background that actually helped me prepare me, if you will, in a way to run a franchise of startup companies, if you will. The big draw for me was this ability to take a customer problem and have a very specific way to target a solution and provide value to the customer. I think it's one thing for you to be in a large company where you have a lot of people and resources to help you. And I think you sort of forget and rely on a lot of help. What I like about being in a startup company, and it's been helpful, I love both experiences, but the startup experience is you have to really be very clear about your value proposition to the customer because they vote with their dollars. I like that atmosphere where you create valuable things, you deliver that for customers. And in the industry we are in, security, it's a big deal because we're trying to make sure people are able to do their work safely and securely. And I like the impact as a company we're able to have. We're a startup, we got to focus, but the value we provide is huge. And the speed at which we can move to actually deliver that, those are all the things that attract me to startups in general, but particularly to Anitian. We have a great team that helps it make the job pretty easy to do.
Rakesh, sounds like a great company. And it seems to me, if I were to go to, say, Gartner Magic Quadrant, would I find under compliance automation platforms, that would be a report, and you guys would be maybe in that top corner where it's the innovator, the market innovator taking us to the next level?
You got it. We actually are the leading contender in that category. In fact, our categories and our product names are the same, primarily because of that reason. Gartner identified us early as an innovator and leader, and that's great. But we're not just resting on our laurels. But I think it's one thing to accomplish that sort of a endorsement, if you will, from the analyst community. That's a reflection of the product delivery we've done, the class of customers we've accomplished, and the value we're delivering. That's not the only one. We have some more things coming this year, which will be even bigger, if you will, to showcase our leadership, our innovation, but most importantly, being able to show the impact of our value. Sometimes these things can become more of a marketing thing. Mm-hmm. I actually care that we are satisfying customers with the specific needs that they have. I think you do that really well. Everything else takes care of itself, frankly.
Yeah, you haven't said AI or machine learning once, which, the hype cycle in cybersecurity, everybody talks about it. What you're talking about is adding practical value quickly for, for example, PCI DSS or FedRAMP deployment, saving clients money, saving them time and energy, getting them in compliance quickly, and then securing their cloud environment and their cloud apps in a very rapid and innovative way.
I think it's super important that, it's certainly my philosophy in general, that I think buzzwords are all great, and a lot of companies are innovating using AI and ML. You shouldn't, dismiss it, I think. But I think the way I think about that market is you got to be effective first, and then you can become efficient and talk about all the ways in which you use your technology to help the customer. Mm-hmm. But if you're not doing the thing that customers needed most, who cares about how you're doing it? It's sort of my philosophy. So AI, ML are all great techniques to allow to extract value and show that and help them. But the bottom line question is, Are we accomplishing compliance for a customer? Are we securing the customers in the quickest way possible, in a way to help the DevOps and DevSecOps people so that it's compliant with the security folks? The business guys feel like you're moving at the right speed, under budget, and the developers feel like I'm not constrained to develop my applications. If you can accomplish that value, I think that's more important than chest beating about whether I'm using AI or ML. Those are all tools, in my opinion. I'm not dismissing them. They're super important, but that's not really what the customer cares about. Are you securing me? Are you making me compliant is the answer that we have to provide. And that's why I don't get defocused from that question most of my life.
That sounds great. So you're providing the checkbox, and it took a lot of R&D and years in development at Anitian, but they don't want to know how you do it. They just want to know it works.
Does it work or not, right? I mean, isn't that the most basic thing? If you did that, I think there's a lot more interest on how did you do that? And what sort of things are you doing? Because in the security business, right, I don't think there's that, trust me. I think security folks are generally very curious about how does this work? And tell me more about how this is going to work with this other environment. And so I think that curiosity is helpful, but I think our first value proposition is, are we doing the thing we claim we are or not? And the best way to show that is deliver that value in a time frame so that the ROI is very clear. I think then you get into the question about what are the other implications of choosing this architecture? How do you integrate into an existing architecture? Those are all valid security questions, and we are happy to answer them. That's why I try to not get distracted by the noise and buzzwords, if you will, because they're an important element of any company in the industry, in the high-tech industry. I'm more a little bit old-fashioned. I want to make sure customers get the value from us first before I claim all these exotic things that we're trying to do. That's just my opinion anyway.
It's a great opinion. Rakesh, is there anything else you want to share with our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting times we live in. COVID certainly makes it very sober, if you will. And in these times, we're lucky to be in an industry that allows us to be remote and be able to do things remotely. Our company is just one among multiple companies in this industry that are enabling more productivity for employees, regardless of where you are, regardless of which company you're in. And our job is to make sure that you're secure. And we, along with our partner ecosystems, are doing exactly that, trying to enable you to be productive, trying to make sure that you're secure. But most importantly, I think it is to make sure that the value is immediate in time, because this is one of those things that it cannot be promised now and deliver 6 years later. Or, I'm selling you another widget today. Our approach to the marketplace is there's a lot of great software players, and we're trying to integrate all of them to provide the value to the customer so that they don't have to do that. They're in the business for their business. They should not worry about securing and compliance. I think that's something that we can help with. That's our perspective in the industry, and we work with our partners to get that accomplished.
Well, as SAP says, I concur. And I've used SAP Concur, so it's great to know you're securing it and helping them out. So Rakesh Narasimhan is the president and CEO of Anitian, and it's ANITIAN.com. Rakesh, I'm going to thank you for this hot seat interview. Send our viewers and listeners to your website. Is there anything you'd want them to download the minute they get to your site? What would you send them after? Is it a garden or an ebook or something?
Yeah, we do. We have an ebook right on there, which shows you not just the speed at which we implement it and why that's of value to you, and that's on both compliance as well as Secure Cloud. In addition, we have a podcast. You should listen to the podcast. Very interesting about some of the hot topical things that you hear around the internet that, again, help you think about how do you secure your applications, how do you migrate your applications, as well as how to prepare for compliance, if you will, and how to actually enable and go deploy that in the marketplace with us. Those are all helpful tools. The other thing I'll tell you is there's an ROI calculator. So you'll be able to go basically figure out, if you do this thing in time, how much does it take? And we'll give you a comparison between what we would take with anybody else and what you would get from us. So all those things are available on the internet, on our website. And if there's any other questions you have, anything that you're not sure about, send me an email. It's my first name dot last name at Anitian.com. That's Rakesh.Narasimhan@Anitian.com, and I'll make sure the right folks in our organization get back to you. I'd appreciate your feedback, and I appreciate interacting with you. Anytime you have a question, please send it my way. Thank you.
That's great. Rakesh, thank you so much. Really enjoyed the hot seat. And hopefully our viewers will take advantage of that, and they'll get working with you ASAP, and then come back next time for another exciting episode of Cyber Defense TV.
Thank you for the opportunity. See you. Take care.